Drew, a lot of people seem to be talking about something called Bird Box. What is that? What it do?
What it do is irritate the hell out of me while watching it, and still a couple of hours afterwards is what it do.
Cool. Do you want to give us just an initial impression of Bird Box then?
Have I not just done that?
Yeah, okay, cool. That's fine. That's fine.
Can you imagine the state of a small box that contained some very small box that contained some birds, and the state of the bottom of that box after 48 hours?
Have you been feeding the birds consistently throughout that period?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I can, yes.
So if you picture that box, that is largely the film.
Cool. In which instance then, Scott, straight back to you.
I don't think I'd ever really given any thought to like the major studios' various sub-brands for different types of movie, but with what Netflix is doing lately, I'm starting to see some sense in it, because when you see Netflix at the start of a film these days, it is a total dice roll on the style and the quality that you'll land on. I suppose that was ever the case, but with Netflix in particular having its name attached as either distributor or producer for some of either the most enjoyable or interesting films of last year, or the worst.
Could be Roma, could be the Cloverfield Paradox.
Exactly. It's giving the company the strangest weird brand and non-identity. It's very strange.
I think their hit ratio with, bizarrely enough, TV series seems to be better than their hit rate for movies at the moment, but
yes,
we'll talk about that in a bit, sorry.
So to that end, you can add Bird Box to the reckoning sheet, a horror film starring Sandra Bullock, which may perhaps be all the review necessary. An unexplained malady quickly takes hold of the world, we come later to understand, somehow transmitted through sight, which causes people to commit suicide as swiftly as possible, causing all manner of inconvenience. Escaping the chaos through blind luck. Do you see what I did there? Bullock's heavily pregnant... That's the best they're going to get. Bullock's heavily pregnant Mallory winds up sheltering the home of John Malkovich's splendidly irritable Douglas, alongside a variety of characters ranging from person I can barely remember to other person that made no impact on me, as they try and figure out what's going on and how they can survive it. All this is intercut with a Mallory of 5 years hence, preparing for and undertaking a dangerous river journey with 2 kids to a supposed safe haven as a desperate last gambit for survival, which must be made blindfolded to prevent whatever probably demonic force is causing this to infect them. So, it's basically landing somewhere between A Quiet Place and The Happening, both of which we hold in rather low regard, and this is perhaps worse than either of them.
Oh no!
There is such a huge believability hurdle to get over with this infection, or whatever you want to call it, that I just can't bring myself to make the effort. It's playing the not explaining anything card in an attempt to create an air of mystery, but there's just nothing in the rest of the film to provide any interest, unlike, say, Pontypool, which could be open to the same criticism, but is just a far more interestingly executed film. It's, I suppose, well enough acted and shot, but there's nothing being said or done that is anything remotely interesting or that hasn't been done a million times before, barring perhaps a couple of blindfolded camera shots, which are done infrequently enough that they seem silly rather than a way to empathise with anyone's predicament. So there's probably a really interesting VR game in here somewhere, but not, sadly, a film. Add to this a wildly misjudged, insensitive development regarding this affliction's effect on the mentally ill, and it's hard to find much to recommend at all in here, so I won't. Make best endeavours to avoid.
So 2 things. First of all, thank you for using the word malady, a word I had largely forgotten about, but I appreciate you using in this context. And thank you for mentioning Pontypool and reminding me of that witch, some scant 10 years after you guys both recommended it, I think. I finally got round to watching in the middle of last year, and that is a good film that you should probably watch instead of this.
Yes.
Cool.
This is not a good film. It's just, what is going on with this? Well, first of all, terrible sound design. Apparently, this strange thing, these demons or whatever it is represented largely by whooshiness.
Yes.
That's it. Whooshiness.
That sounds correct.
It doesn't even seem to know what these things are. I mean, it doesn't go quite as far as
definitely doesn't. No.
Yeah, something like
no
as
idea.
far as A Quiet Place or Signs and show you them. But I kind of, since I seem to have no idea of what they were, I would have liked to have seen something. I guess the closest you get is that Tom Hollander's got some pictures, but they all look completely disparate anyway, so you're never sure it's meant to be a representation or an imagining. But and right at the beginning too, right, the idea seems to be that whatever these people see, it kind of quite quickly drives them insane, and they latch onto some sort of sad memory or something and commit suicide, which is the whole thing. If you look at these things, you kill yourself. That's the premise of them. And okay, so it seems to be entirely internal at the beginning of the film and in the middle of the film and almost right to the end of the film. Then at the end of the film, they decide that actually, no, it's external. They somehow know things about the people and that other people can hear it too. Like, well, make up your mind.
Which
is it?
That sounds necessary.
There's also the idea of these people supposed to be blindfolded is entirely poorly conveyed, because every single person, apart from a couple of bits where the plot demands that they trip over something, they move exactly like you would imagine somebody who could see out the bottom of their blindfold moved. Exactly like that.
Up to and including navigating rapids, because apparently
Yes.
that's easy enough to do blindfold. Fine,
Yeah.
okay, go for it.
I mean, there's a bit too where you see Sandra Bullock comes on the shore at one point and she runs straight towards this bush, but manages to stop right before she would crash into it and go around it. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not really how blindfold things work, but okay.
I can't even walk slowly at night from my bedroom to the bathroom without walking into something. So how people can run at full pelt with anything,
it's
it's just beyond me.
Yeah, it's not believable the way they move. And then, I don't know, also, there's
Stupid. What surprised me most about this film is that apparently this was a book beforehand, which means that someone actually
How
wrote
does that
this
work?
down. But because what you're saying is right entirely, it doesn't seem to have any sort of idea of what its internal logic is, and it doesn't seem to have been thought through. But surely, if you're going to write a book about something, you must have had some idea about it. I mean, has it just been ignored for this adaptation, or
I was going
what?
to say,
It's weird.
One wonders whether or not the film is played fast and loose with the premise of the book.
and it's played fast and loose with something. And yeah, also there are moments too where, well, first of all, there's not enough John Malkovich. There needs to be considerably more John Malkovich, crotchety John Malkovich at that. But
Well,
there's a,
knowing that Malkovich plays a cranky character called Douglas is the only thing that I've heard about this movie that has any chance whatsoever of
Yes.
convincing me to watch it, and it's still not going to work.
there's no like internal logic to this film at all, and things are just convenient too. It's just all to do with plot conveniences. There's a moment where Sandra Bullock and the children lose their blankets and food, and then literally within 30 seconds,
Yeah.
she finds more blankets and food. Well, that wasn't really an issue then, was it?
Stakes are high.
And yeah, there's like things too. There's the whole lack of logic was bothering me too. It seems like they've been inside this house near the beginning for going to be weeks as they're talking about food running short, right? And only at that point did they realise there were security cameras and they could use them.
Yeah.
It's just such an artless way to do it. It's like all you need is one wee change in that portion, where instead of a character apparently suddenly realising in his own house, oh yeah, I've got these security cameras, you could have said, perhaps it's time to revisit this idea of daring to look at the security cameras. One change would make that entirely sensible, right?
Yeah.
And then you have, how long can birds survive without food? Because apparently forever. Because they find these birds in a supermarket and they're alive after presumably weeks, because at this point they're running out of food. They've had somebody come to the door who said, I'm only now coming out because I'm so short of food, I'm worried that I'm going to die and my baby's going to die. But the birds are still alive.
Maybe they were really fat birds at the start of this event. So that's-
So I mean, and that's so easy to just like go down this rabbit hole of nitpicking, but really, because the film doesn't have anything else to keep me distracted from that.
I know, I was going to say, look, let's cut this short, because we always end up doing this. We end up spending the most amount of time on the films, picking holes in the films that deserve the attention the least. So don't watch Bird Box. At the end of the day, it's got Sandra Bullock in it, and I'm sick to the back teeth of Sandra Bullock. She actively irritates me now. I don't rate her at all as an actress.
No, I don't get
I
that.
saw The Premonition, and I remember nothing about it, even though I think I wrote the review for it for the website way back in the day. I can't remember. I think I did. Or Scott, did you write that one? I don't know.
I don't even remember that film.
The point is, I remember nothing about it, yet I am still scarred by it. So, no thank you. End of.
I remember the name of that though. The one
Yes.
I wanted to say about the film for going is
No!
So Sandra Bullock's a big
I've
issue.
called
right?
time on it. No. Scott, the favourite.